Good morning and welcome. Rosemary, and this is a very special celebration of the covenantal relationship with the Unitarian Church of Edmonton. Joining us today are several important people who represent different branches in Reverend Rosemary's life, and by extension, our lives. After our first hymn, When the Heart is in a Holy Place, we will invite Reverend Brian Kiely, our newly appointed Minister Emeritus, to introduce us to these wonderful Unitarians from various backgrounds who will be in our procession and service celebrating Reverend Rosemary. Please rise as you are able for our processional hymn welcoming our special guests, When the Heart is in a Holy Place.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to this very special occasion, and I want to begin by saying, first off, I am Brian Kiely, and I want to thank you. I was surprised, pleased, and honored when I got a text from my son Declan at the annual meeting saying that you had named me Minister Emeritus. Thank you very much. We are gathered with 14 colleagues, I think it is, of various stages of development, and you'll understand in a minute. And it is a tradition that goes back to the earliest days of Unitarianism in North America. We come out for each other's big events, ordinations and installations. And it's a thrill that we're here. So I'm going to introduce them to you because they've been asked. And here's the surprise, you get to stand up when I call your name. And it's in no particular order. First, we have Chris McBain from Calgary, who is an aspirant for our ministry. Yeah, you may want to hold your applause till the end. There's a lot of us.
Could you ask them to turn towards the cameras?
Oh, yes, and turn towards the cameras. The cameras at the back, yes. Reverend Ann Barker, who is currently in Saskatoon and is the CUC Congregational Life Staff person for our area. Someone you should know, Ilara Stefaniuk-Gaudet, who is an aspirant and a member of this church. They're not going to behave, no. The Reverend Diane Rollert from the Unitarian Church of Montreal. They never listen to me anyway. The Reverend Debra Faulk who is retired in Victoria. The Reverend Charlotte Cowton, who is retired in Winnipeg. The Reverend Megan Roburn, who is also living in Winnipeg at this time. The Reverend Ben Robbins, who is about to take up ministry in Halifax this fall. The Reverend Audrey Brooks, longtime member and helper and everything around here. The Reverend Karen Fraser Gitlitz of Saskatoon Unitarians. The Reverend Samaya Oakley, who is the minister in Calgary. The Reverend Meg Roberts, who was an intern here a long time ago, and is the minister at the Beacon Unitarian Church in Coquitlam, BC. Casey Stainsby, who is Casey's living in Vancouver. She is a theological student, and she is the coordinator of youth programming. That's why she got such a big cheer from the young people. And finally, Reverend Diane Weber in Kelowna. Danielle Weber, beg your pardon. Did I get y'all? All right, I'm done.
Now, you might worry that we've missed our guest of honor, but I assure you the next hour will be about you. Thank you. Thank you to all our visitors who have come from across Canada to the Unitarian Church of Edmonton. We're one of 2 Unitarian churches in Edmonton, and we offer our services and our programs in person and online. We want to send a special hello out to everybody who is joining us online and to those who may be visiting us from the future. My name is Oksana Atwood, and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm delighted to be your service leader this morning, along with many, many others who are running the service, both in front and behind the curtains, so to speak. But as this welcome needs to contain a little bit of extra information, let me just quickly remind people that we do have several washrooms available on that side of our building, just in the halls. We would gently remind you to turn off your cell phones at this time or put them on mute. Hopefully everybody has found parking. If there's any issues, please let us know after the service. Now, there can be a lot going on with such a large group, and we want to recognize that some people need quieter, more space alone. So we do have a quiet room just in the back there that's available, as well as the lobby if you feel like you need to take a little break. And we will be flipping this room and turning things over into a fabulous lunch right after, and we would love for everybody's help. As we prepare for this service, and we've asked you to quiet yourselves and your devices, we open the service now with a land acknowledgement from someone in our community who has worked with so many of you. They are an advocate, an academic, and an artist, Ilara Stefaniuk-Gaudet.
Good morning, everybody. Here we are. Great. Oh, it's so good to be up here. Thank you all for being here this morning. My name is Ilara Stefaniuk-Gaudet, and my pronouns are they, them, and it is a great privilege to be up here to offer the land acknowledgement this morning. So within our national community, we have a number of CUC elders and residents, and a dear friend of mine, Elder Sharon Jenkerson-Brass, along my reconciliation journey, has taught me that the most important piece for me to work is to speak from the heart for land acknowledgements. So I'm not allowed to be scripted, because a big piece of reconciliation is reconciling with ourselves and reconciling that space within us to allow ourselves to be vulnerable and let the Spirit speak through us. So today we are celebrating Roots and Wings for Reverend Rosemary. And a land acknowledgement is a first step. It's a first step. There's lots of work to do with reconciliation. A land acknowledgement is a first step. And the land is where we have the privilege of putting down our roots, because many of us, myself included as a settler, we are not in the land that we are indigenous to. So our roots have to be very intentional in building relationship with the land. So today we are here on Treaty 6 territory. We're in Amiskwaci Waskahikan, which is meaning Beaver Hills House in Plains Cree. This is the traditional lands of the Niha, which is the Cree word for the Cree, the Niskapi, which are the colonially known as the Blackfoot, the Nakota Sioux, Saulteaux, Inuit, and many, many others, because this is a gathering place traditionally. We are also in Region 4 of the Métis Nation. We are one of the only regions of the Métis Nation in Canada. And the piece that I really want to lift up with this land acknowledgement is about relationship. We're here to be in relationship with Reverend Rosemary. We're here to really solidify that covenantal relationship. And I really want us to remember that the land is a piece of that relationship. We could not be here without our relationship with the land. That's what I'd like to lift up this morning for our land acknowledgement. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilara. And now I'd like to invite Reverend Ann Barker to the podium.
I come here as a colleague today, but also representing the Canadian Unitarian Council. And one of the things that is so precious to us as member congregations of a larger group is that sense of independence, interdependence, both of them together, that we are unique and precious congregational and community beings, but we also belong to one another. And an installation is a ceremony where we come together in that way. We recognize how we are connected to one another. And in this time, there is such a growing sense of collaboration across the country between congregations and communities that we just lift this up as a precious moment, and we celebrate Reverend Rosemary and the Unitarian Congregation of Edmonton today.
Thank you so much, Anne. We will now have a musical prelude by Michelle Morrison. That was wonderful. And I think the little drop of silence at the end really cemented that for us. We got to hear from Michelle, who is a friend of Reverend Rosemary's and has known her for over 15 years. So we're delighted to have you at the piano. Thank you. Next, we have our chalice lighting. And as I'm doing the reading, we will have our board president, Brandy Moeller-Reed, come and light the chalice. Our reading is called In Our Circle Again by Sherry Woodbury. Here we are, in our circle again. A circle of vision and reflection, a forum for deciding and empowering. Here we are at the base of another bridge, another space spanning the shores of today and tomorrow, beckoning us to cross the chasm one day at a time. Here we are gathered again at the cusp of the future, at the boundary that holds community together. We are here in a circle of love and trust brought to this moment by a series of choices and promises, by hope and gratitude, by our own shadows, faced and befriended. With a servant's heart, with a leader's listening, with a parent's love truer than all of our inner trembling, let us model the health we seek for all and lean into community. Somewhere out there, all we dream is possible. Somewhere in here, we are sowing the seeds. Please join me in singing our next hymn, Morning Has Broken, number 38. You will see the lyrics up on the screen, and please rise as you are willing and able. You might notice something a little bit different on our slides today. We have a little copyright that says RM. We thought it would be nice for Reverend Rosemary's installation to have not only the people who supported her surrounding her in front of her, but the places and the nature that she's been also supporting her. So we are sharing in the photos, your photos today, Rosemary, as we go through their photos that you've taken. That I've stolen.
Where'd you find them?
Now, these photos are pretty tame. They're of nature, but they're not au naturel. And we've gently woven them throughout the service so that you can see through your eyes some of the places that have really grounded Rosemary in her travels. So they're simply photos of the trees and the nature that she has taken and shared. So as you go through, we can share in a little bit of Rosemary's adventures as well. Now, those who are in our church and those who know Rosemary know that Time for All Ages is a really important part of our services, as well as reading children's books. In fact, it's really a core part of Reverend Rosemary's ministry. For this section today, we'd like to invite Matthew Daly to come forward and introduce himself, and share a little bit about how he knows Reverend Rosemary.
Hello, I'm Matthew. When I was young and at South Fraser Unitarians in Surrey, BC, Rosemary was our DRE for a while. And Rosemary made Sunday school quite fun. And although there's never more than 5 of us at a time, it was often like 3 people. I think we did put her to work. So I remember we were in the downstairs right across from the room where they served coffee and cookies. And near the end of Sunday school, I would look out and they'd be setting up the cookies. And I'd be like, can I go get a cookie? She's like, no, you can't. Like, the adults haven't even finished their service. So, and I'm like, but they're right there. I know. So I think she had like a container of jujubes to give us instead. Just to last until we were allowed to get the cookies. Yeah, she was good. Though I was small then, I have really good memories of Rosemary. So on behalf of myself and all the youth over there, I wish Rosemary a great time in Edmonton. You guys are very lucky to have her.
That was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Matthew. Now is the part of our service when we share our abundance. So as part of our offertory, I'd like to ask Ann Barker to come back up and lead us in this section. Thank you, Ann.
It is tradition in Canada that collections made at an ordination or an installation are directed to the Percy Bailey Theological Education Fund. And this is a fund administered by the CUC. If you want more insider information, Reverend Brian Kiely serves on the panel that administers this fund, and so you can hijack him after the service to learn more. This fund originally began to help ministry students because the path is not only onerous to professional ministry, but it is expensive. And so it offers grants to people who could use the assistance so that it is taking down some of the barriers to participation. It has had its mandate expanded in recent time, so also ministers serving in the congregation or the community who are pursuing continuing education that is not paid for by their workplace can also apply to this fund. And more excitingly, I think, for UCE is this idea that congregations can also apply to the fund to get support for hosting interns. And our students need internship sites, and for congregations to be able to have interns, it's a fantastic experience for the congregation and the community, but it also has a cost. So the fund has expanded so that congregations can also participate in this. Brian knows it all. Ask Brian. So we honor this beautiful celebration, this coming together of people across the country by taking the offering today for the Percy Bailey Theological Fund.
Since singing from You I Oh, sorry. My apologies.
That was beautiful. I invite you to sing together "From You I Receive" 2 times. I'd like to invite the Reverend Ben Roberts to come forward and lead us in meditation.
Good morning. The first time I met Rosemary was at the ACM in Ottawa a few years ago, and we just sat outside on campus and we just laughed and laughed and laughed. And she was just so embodied that
Still
still laughing, yeah. So we're going to do an embodied meditation together, and do whatever works for your body. So you're welcome to modify or ignore what I say. So I invite you to feel your feet on the floor. Maybe give your toes a little wiggle just to say hello. Feel your back on the chair. You might take one hand and the other and give yourself a gentle hand massage. You could stay there if you want, but maybe you'd like to massage your forearms or your biceps if that would feel helpful for you. Moving up the body, maybe release your jaw. That would be helpful. Maybe invite a yawn. Just see what happens. And I just invite you to move your attention through your body and notice what could use some mindful attention, or what might feel good to give it a squeeze and a release. Yeah. It might be one spot. Might be general feeling. And let's just breathe together. And after a minute or two of silence, Karen Mills will carry us into Spirit of Life.
Hello, Rosemary and the congregants of the Unitarian Church of Edmonton. Matt and Kelsey here. We're in Nelson, BC. Mom, we're also proud of you for getting to this point in your journey as a minister. It's been really amazing to watch you step into your role as a spiritual leader over the last few years, and how this path has opened up your ability to contribute your gifts so beautifully to the communities you've served. Thank you, congregants of the UUE, for welcoming Rosemary into your spiritual community and your town and installing her as your minister. What an honor. We know she is well supported and taken care of by you.
We're sorry that we're not able to be there in person today for the ceremony, but we're definitely there in spirit. We are very grateful to your congregation for making this choice to honor Rosemary and her role in your church in this way.
Lots of love to you all, and congratulations, Rosemary and congregants, for this milestone. Take care, everyone. Hope to see you soon. Bye.
A big thank you and a special hello to Reverend Rosemary's family, who is likely watching today. Thank you for being a part of our special service. With our song Spirit of Life, we heard the lyrics, "Roots hold me close, wings set me free," which really helps us to visualize the shift of our focus from Rosemary as an individual to a part of a family, to a part of a much larger community. And you might not all know how hard Reverend Rosemary has worked on building our community even before she started. There are so many stories of the work that she's put in both before and since she's started with our service. And as part of this call to service, we'd like to invite the next person up to do a charge to the congregation. So this is something, okay, my apologies. To continue on, we'd like to invite somebody who is part of her larger service to the community and is a colleague, a learning partner, and especially a friend. Please help me welcome Debra Faulk.
What an honor to be here with you. A flying dragon, a dancing unicorn, a rainbow octopus, all manner of cartoon characters, and even a Canadian flag. I love going to Clover Point, sometimes called Kite Point, in Victoria, to watch the swooping and vibrant colors, the oohs and the ahs, some of them so simple. You know, the old-fashioned kind, that sort of elongated diamond with handmade tail, and some amazingly complex with 4 strings and needing 2 handles. I love watching the people flying the kites, the people learning to fly the kites, and the people watching the people flying the kites. All of us gathered in wonder, gathered in a shared experience, witness to soaring while grounded, the only way kite flying is possible. So what does flying a kite have to do with worship? Worship, that honoring of that which is of worth, and especially a worship service that is also a ritual of celebration and consecration of a relationship between a minister and a congregation, between Reverend Rosemary and the Unitarian Church of Edmonton. Now, this relationship has been in formation for a number of years, yet you have all collectively chosen to make a deeper commitment to each other, to shift from a contract to a call. This is a significant change, for it changes the relationship from a time-limited, temporary sort of consulting role, an agreement or contract between the minister and the board, to a covenantal, promise-making, ongoing, and ever-deepening relationship between all participants to share the ministry. This shift can only happen in our Unitarian and Unitarian Universalist tradition using congregational polity as we do, that a congregation self-determines its direction. And so only by a vote of all of the members, and then extending the invitation to and the acceptance of the minister, can you make this shift from contract to call. A minister's first call is to dedicating themselves to being of service to the greater good. You've seen some of that already this morning. In our tradition, this requires extensive academic training, continuing professional development, ongoing deep personal discernment, and in the congregational context, an abiding commitment to participate with and support and inspire others. The calling to a congregation is a mutual commitment to the collective work of love, justice, and sustainability. So what might the lessons from flying a kite have to do with a commitment to shared ministry? First, the importance of taking time to stop, pause, and notice. Time to be amazed at the wonders of life itself, of being alive and sharing this precious time together. Taking time to notice each other. Another lesson, holding steady and staying put is necessary at times, though rarely does digging one's heels in and refusing to budge keep things moving. Soaring while grounded. Now, while a running start is sometimes needed, there are times when paying attention to the wind will be as or more important. Noticing the changes and adapting for them moment by moment is how much of today is lived, how we're called to be in the world, to pivot, to be nimble. And such diversity, so many different kites, and there is room for diversity. The actual welcome of and living radical inclusion is more challenging than it may appear. And the value of shared experience, its power and the potential to deepen connections and commitment. Shared experience builds trust, the foundation of all relationships. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Let's go fly a kite. Now, as much as kite flying models soaring while grounded, it was not the first image that came to mind for this morning's theme of roots and wings. For me, it was geese. It was geese that flew into my consciousness, and remembering lessons from geese. A version that I will use is by Milton Olson and was adapted by Angeles Arian. So fact one, as each goose flaps its wings, it creates an uplift for the birds that follow. By flying in a V formation, the whole flock adds 71% greater flying range than if each bird flew alone. People who share a common direction and sense of community can get where they are going quicker and easier because they are traveling on the thrust of one another. This is the essence of shared ministry, indeed of a spiritual community, to lift each other up, to collectively determine the direction and then go it together, to assure that no one is doing it or going it alone. Fact two, when a goose falls out of formation, it suddenly feels the drag and resistance of flying alone. It quickly moves back into formation to take advantage of the lifting power of the bird immediately in front of it. The lesson, if we have as much sense as a goose, we stay in formation with those who are headed where we want to go. We are willing to accept their help and give our help to others. Oh, this can be such a challenge among us, among those two who are fiercely independent. To shift from that fierce individualism to collective action, not always easy. This does not minimize the importance of the individual. Rather, it recognizes the importance and the value of shared effort. And also of not undermining group decisions, even if they may not be quite match our own particular preferences. I hear a for that one. Oh, and then there's that whole thing about asking for and accepting help. We need to build that muscle. Amen. Fact 3. When the lead goose tires, it rotates back into formation and another goose flies into the point position. The lesson: it pays to take turns doing the hard tasks and sharing leadership. As with geese, people are interdependent on each other's skills, capabilities, and unique arrangements of gifts, talents, and resources. Now, while Reverend Rosemary holds a unique role of minister, a leadership role to be sure, she cannot and will not always be at the point of the V don't expect her to be. Fact 4. The geese flying in formation honk to encourage those up front to keep up their speed. Lesson: we need to make sure our honking is encouraging. In a group where there is encouragement, the production is much greater. The power of encouragement to stand by one's heart or core values and encourage the heart and core values of others is a quality of honking we seek. We just heard it. Fact 5. When a goose gets sick, wounded, or is shot down, 2 geese drop out of formation, follow it down, and help and protect it. They stay with it until it dies or until it is able to fly again. Then they launch out with another formation or catch up with their own flock. The lesson: if we have as much sense as geese, we will stand by each other in difficult times as well as when we are strong. Pastoral care is a significant aspect of parish ministry. It is one of those often unseen tasks, and it, at least in my experience, increases over the years with the deepening of relationships and the building of trust. Let us remember that everyone in the community is on the pastoral care team. Everyone is part of the pastoral team, everyone caring for each other. This is not something Rosemary can do alone. The Canada goose is very protective of the nest. The drake stands guard. It is the only time that the communal birds are not in large groups. When the goslings are born, there is a transformation. The productive stance becomes a collective one, and all of the adults look out for all of the young ones and each other. The responsibility is shared. Remember this going forward. At a WARE lecture at the General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association a few years ago, I had the pleasure of hearing Amitai Etzioni, a prominent figure from the communitarian movement. He spoke of civil rights and responsibilities. Dr. Etzioni used as an example the fact that about 90% of those involved in a legal trial will choose trial by a jury of their peers. Yet, when asked to serve jury duty, less than 50% are agreeable. We have the right to participate in a liberal religious community. That right has its responsibilities as well. May we respond to this congregation responsibly, being response-able, able to respond to our individual longing for belonging, to the needs of others with whom we choose to co-create community, as well as the need to sustain and grow our community. Let us be here not under obligation or indebtedness, but in loving commitment, in covenantal relationship. This is a bit of a sidebar, but I think it's worth listening to. It may be surprising to note that the Canada goose was an endangered species. In particular, the subspecies known as the giant Canada goose was considered extinct, until a few remnant populations were discovered in the early 1960s. Overhunting and destruction of wetlands had driven them to the brink. Improved game management practices and extensive reintroduction programs were begun to stabilize the subspecies, and today it is doing fine. The challenge now is overpopulation, which people are certainly aware of, at least on beaches in BC. So what will it take for such a revival in our congregations, I find myself wondering, but that's a topic for another service, or maybe a few. If we have as much sense as geese, we will stand by each other through difficult times as well as joyful ones. We will trust each other enough to share when times are tough. If we have as much sense as geese, we will encourage one another to stand by one's heart and core values, and we will accept and expect encouragement. If we have as much sense as geese, we will hold formation as we move in a shared and a common direction and sense of community, knowing we can get where we are going quicker and easier, traveling on the thrust of one another. If we have as much sense as geese, we will have resilience. We will flock together to care for each other and to nurture the young ones. If we have as much sense as geese, we will stay in formation with those headed where we want to go. We are willing to accept their help and offer our help to others. If we have as much sense as a goose, we will feather our communal nest with our effort, commitment, and resources. Let us soar well grounded in the love of each other, this community, our beloved planet. May it be so, and let's go fly a kite and honk all the way. Blessed be.
Thank you, Reverend Faulk. I really enjoyed the homily to soar while grounded. I think we could all kind of relate to the idea of a kite, but that might be more West Coast, and here in the prairies, I can tell you we definitely relate to geese.
East Coast too.
For the next part of our installation service, we step into something called the charge to the congregation, and I'm pleased to preempt that with some interlude music by Michelle. Thank you very much. Thank you for that dynamic interlude. And now I get to do what I've been trying to do, which is invite Reverend Samaya Oakley to the podium.
What a joy and an honor it is to be here with you this morning. While most of this morning has been directed towards Rosemary and what a wonderful person and minister she is, my remarks right now are for you, the congregation, a charge to the congregation. The act of installation is where the congregation enacts its polity. It is both a joyous and a solemn occasion. Now, something that I've been reflecting on a great deal of late is that by the grace of relationships, it is by the grace of relationships that we exist. As human beings, we crave relationship, and when we come together in covenant, we create a space where not only do two become one, but where we all become one, belonging to each other. And one thing that we have learned over the last few years is that not one of us can make it on our own. Not one of us. We Unitarian Universalists have a long-standing allergic reaction to authority, and we're proud of it. We're a tradition of heretics who have been challenging the status quo for generations. As Thoreau famously wrote, an unjust law is no law at all. And we've managed this tension between authority and leadership through something that we call shared ministry. You see, we believe that the ministry of the congregation belongs to everyone. And if I were to hazard a guess, if I asked each person in the room what they thought shared ministry was, we'd probably get that many individual answers. And we'd also get a lot of what it isn't. It's a term that deserves our care and our attention when we unpack it. So let me unpack it so that we all have a common frame of reference. One definition of shared ministry that I can offer sits in the boardroom of Calgary Unitarians, and it says, ministry is the act of service that supports our congregation's principles and values. Individually and together, we share the responsibility to minister to our congregation and the broader community. What this tells me is that shared ministry is a collaborative effort that not only involves your minister, Reverend Rosemary, and your board, it involves every single one of you who are members of this community. And you do so for the health and vitality of this congregation. Each one of you has the responsibility to come together to support a common vision, a set of common goals, and our legacy of this progressive faith. And this is where it gets tricky, doesn't it? I mean, a common vision, a common set of goals, really? So you know that question of authority that I referred to earlier? You know, that idea of us being heretics? Well, I hate to tell you this, that's what often gets in our way. It doesn't often fit with our promise of our mutual trust and support. I think that in many cases, we are better at focusing on our own individual goals than in joining together to accomplish a few major things that are only possible when we work together. I wonder how much more would be possible if we were to spend our time emphasizing what is possible when we begin to trust one another, to invest ourselves in mutual trust and support. Trust is something that takes time to build, and it's something that is worthy of our consideration. I wonder what it would mean for us to ask each other, what do you mean by trust? What does it really mean to trust someone? What does it mean to trust in something greater than us humans, this planet, this universe? So you see, my dear ones, our shared ministry is something that every single one of us engages in. It's not something that only paid religious professionals do. And it doesn't mean that Reverend Rosemary is going to lead the way and you're all going to follow. It doesn't mean that any one of you has the answers that will solve all of the problems of the world or even here at the Unitarian Church of Edmonton. Shared ministry is about a partnership that says we are together in this work of transforming ourselves and transforming the world, that we exist through the grace of relationships. So I invite you, each time you face a decision about the life of this congregation, to take time to reflect together, to wonder together, will this decision bring us closer together? Will it weave a stronger web? Does it consider who we will be in 50 years, in 100 years? Amen. Namaste. Blessed be.
Thank you, Reverend Oakley, for laying out for us what is involved in the charge to the congregation. The next section is the charge to the minister, and it's usually delivered by a colleague, somebody who's in close relationship with the installee, and might have a better sense of their gifts as well as their growing edges. I'd like to welcome Reverend Karen Gitlitz, who has crossed paths in intern and supervisory roles. She's been colleagues with Reverend Rosemary together in the Wood Buffalo Regional Cluster of the UU Ministers of Canada. We welcome Reverend Karen Gitlitz to the podium.
Thank you. It is lovely to be here with all of you this morning. Now that I've greeted you, I'm going to ignore you because I'm here to talk to Rosemary. And you are welcome to listen if you want. I think so, yeah. Come closer. You're way over there. I'm old and I can't see that far. Come closer. So Rosemary, like you, I started in a congregation on a contract, and then it turned to a call. And now I'm at the end of that call, and so I'm able to reflect back and think about the things that I probably should have done differently. So here are a few nuggets for you, if you wish. I appreciate it. So there's a thing that happens when you arrive at a church, and you're getting to know them and they're getting to know you, and you notice that, okay, some things are easy to do because there's like a minister-shaped hole there. You know, they're expecting you to kind of get in there. And other things that might be true to you, you kind of try and do, and there's like a little bit of resistance. And it's not that people don't want it, it's just that they're not used to it. And what that leads, I found in me, is to a sense of longing. I'm looking for my in. I'm looking for my way to be part of the community. I'm thinking, oh, if only they'd thought to ask me, or if only somebody had told me that. And that sense of wanting to be in, for me, it stayed with me, probably longer than it should have. Because there's this thing that happens after a couple of years where you are actually in it. And that longing to be in made me reach for things that probably weren't mine to do. And so to recognize when you've been here for a couple of years that you are in, and that you are part of the community, and that you have many connections, and that as we stay longer in communities, we actually have to become more careful because we have more deeper connections and our words have more impact because of the relationship.
I often forget that part.
Yeah, me too. That's why I'm mentioning it. It's part of the experience. Yeah. And weirdly, the other part of it is true as well, that as we come to care and love and know people, their words have more impact on us too. And you know, we spend a lot of time thinking about the goals and what we're hoping to achieve. And that's, you know, sometimes it wakes me up at night, sometimes I'm thinking of it all day long. And the person who comes in, they're not thinking about those things. Sometimes people have doo-doo going on in their lives. I'm sure not anybody here, but sometimes, you know, sometimes the doo-doo is happening big. And they're coming in because this is their sacred place. This is where they come to be with their friends, to lay something down, to be heard, to be witnessed. And so my question about that thing that I've been working on that's front and center for me doesn't land so well. And what feels like to me is that my head gets bitten off, you know, like, because that's not what they were coming here for. And so we need to remember that it is about the relationship, that it is lovely and important, and we are tasked with having those goals, but we're here to be in relationship.
That's it.
And that's what, anything that happens because we have this covenant with our congregation, and we have been invited into this space to be real with them, and they are going to be real with us sometimes, and it's not going to be pleasant. What it requires of us is that we hold ourselves lightly, that we hold our goals lightly, that we hold our people with care, even when they're kind of crinkly, crusty, toasty. Because we're all like that, right? We are all crinkly, crusty, toasty at times, right? Works both ways. Yeah. So this brings me to my key point here, is that you are here, you are in it for the long haul. You are not a short drive around the block. You are now in it for the long haul. And so you need to take care of yourself, because that's what helps you be able to take things lightly. Because there is always more to do, we know that. There's always another phone call that could be made, another email that could be sent. And in the moment, that feels helpful. And it's probably helpful for that person, perhaps. But that sense of being helpful is also a temptation in ministry. That sense of like, oh, I'm going to get some pleasure out of doing this. Somebody's hearing me over there. Yeah.
I have friends.
We all know that this is a temptation in ministry to feel helpful. And it's because it's okay until it's not. Right? Like all of a sudden we've crossed that line. So we need our friends and our families and our loved ones, and we need to make time for those important relationships, because they are the ones who are going to tell us when we need to rest. They are the ones who are caring for us. So we need to make time for them, and we need to listen to them. And we need to cherish the leaders in the congregation who know that too. We need to cherish our leaders and listen to them when they're telling us that we've crossed a line or that we need to rest.
Amen to that.
Because we are in it for the long haul, and so are they. Amen. Blessed be.
Amen.
We will now have an interlude by Michelle as we prepare for our ceremony of commitment.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brandy Muller-Reed. My pronouns are she and her. And as UCE Board President, I have the privilege today as to guide us through the commitment ceremony with Reverend Rosemary. I will say a few words, and Rosemary will, and then with luck, there will be words behind me, I think, for the congregants to respond. So, we have gathered here this morning to recognize and consecrate a relationship that has already begun. In our liberal religious tradition, no right is more precious than the right of a congregation to choose its own ministers. It is with deep feeling, then, that we now formally recognize the relationship that exists between the people of the Unitarian Church of Edmonton and Reverend Rosemary Morrison, whom we have freely chosen and who has freely chosen us. This act of installation symbolizes the covenant between the people of the congregation and the minister of the congregation has chosen. Through these words, we celebrate and acknowledge our commitment to work together in good faith and understanding. Rosemary, we call you to live among us, to make our concerns your concerns, and to lead us as you are able in the paths of wisdom, compassion, and peace. We want you to speak truth to us in love, strive for justice, nurture our community, and help us to be our best selves. We ask you to minister to us in joys and sorrows, in our brokenness and in our deepest wholeness, calling our attention to the world of which we dream. We call you to lead us in a shared quest toward greater understanding of life's meaning and purpose, and by your example and your ministry to give substance to the principles of our free faith. Will you be with us as our settled minister?
Trusting not in my strength alone, but in the love and goodness inherent in the interdependent web of all existence, and in assurance of your support, I accept this call with gratitude and joy.
I invite the members of the congregation to please rise in body or spirit and join in the act of installation. We, the members of the Unitarian Church of Edmonton, do hereby install you, Reverend Rosemary Morrison, as our minister. For our part, we pledge to walk with you in the ways of truth, justice, love, and of the Spirit. We offer you a free pulpit, the cooperation of our hearts and hands, and our resolute goodwill as you take up your work among us. We pledge ourselves to remember that the work of this congregation belongs to us all. We recognize that we bear a responsibility in your material welfare and ongoing spiritual growth, and we pledge to assist and cooperate with you and with one another as we grow in our common spiritual life.
With a deep sense of responsibility entrusted to me, I take up the ministry in which you have called me. I pledge to serve you to the best of my ability, so that together we might serve the larger world. I will work to build with you a religious community which shows by your example the joyous possibility of a more inclusive and loving community as we care for one another and our good green earth. And together, I believe, there's one more slide? Yes? No. Nope, okay. I guess I didn't make that very clear to the slide producer. I apologize. So together we're supposed to say this. So just imagine yourself saying it along with me. We honor the past and celebrate the present.
In the past and celebrate the present.
Excellent. Inspired by the enduring principles.
Inspired by the enduring principles.
Of our liberal religious tradition.
Of our liberal religious tradition.
We covenant together.
Covenant together.
To forge an honest, caring, and respectful partnership.
To forge an honest, caring, and respectful partnership.
Which empowers our congregation.
Which empowers our congregation.
to carry the flame of peace and love into the future.
To carry the flame of peace and love into the future.
Thank you. I am so honored by this installation, by being called to be your minister, and from my heart and working with you all in love and in relationship, I know we can do amazing and wonderful things together.
Don't go far, we have the stole.
I have here for Reverend Rosemary a stole from our congregation to her. And on the stole, I can't do both.
Okay. All right, and you need to know that Yvonne made the stole.
Where was this one?
Oh, white horse.
So, yeah. Roots and wings. I chose and designed these motifs because I know that Rosemary is very grounded in nature. And here is the tree of life with its roots well grounded. And it's got all of the leaves that are different. They're different types of leaves, different colors of leaves, different ways of putting them together. And that is us. That is our beloved congregation. All of our uniqueness. Oh, and a feather at the bottom from the cardinal, which she requested. And I know how Rosemary loves birds. You can wrap it on the side and hold it. So here's the cardinal with more of us surrounding it. And these are her wings. These are Rosemary's wings with a little note of music here, because there's got to be music. And down here is the Unitarian Church of Edmonton logo. And I placed it on a little piece of her ordination stool. And last but not least, here is the symbol for the CUC, Canadian Unitarian Congregation, also from her installation stool. One more thing. The fabric is something Rosemary chose herself, and it's full of spirals, because all of us keep coming around to the same place, but slightly differently. That's life.
Thank you so much. And there's pocket. I love pockets and things. What's next? Ben, my buddy Ben.
That is absolutely gorgeous. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Awesome. All right, I'd like to have a word with those of us who are not a part of this congregation. Everyone here, whether here in the room or here on Zoom, everyone is part of this installation. We're all participants. Some of us are here from across the country and beyond to show our support and our love. And the deepening of your relationship here deepens the interdependent web for all of us. So to those of you not part of this congregation, I'm going to ask you a question. So get ready to use your voice again. And thank you for that warm-up. That was great. Okay. So do we, the UUs from across the country and beyond, and those from other faiths or no faith, promise that we will be there for Reverend Rosemary and the Unitarian Church of Edmonton when they reach out to us in their time of need or in their time of celebration? So do we promise to fly our flag high? Yes. Awesome. And to Reverend Rosemary and the Unitarian Church of Edmonton, do you promise to think of us in your time of need or in your time of celebration? Do you promise to be real with us? Do you promise to build up that muscle of asking for help? So if you do, let me hear you say, yes. Awesome. All right, let's do this. Let us soar while grounded. And in honor of shared ministry, could we have one more round of honking? All right.
Now, since the focus of this aspect of the service is the we part of shared ministry rather than just the minister, there's often a rite that invokes the profound network of connections between the minister, their colleagues, their families, and the larger community. And our weekly ritual of Carry the Flame, which is unique to UCE, will be done now as part of this rite of installation rather than the end. So I'll ask those who are members of UCE to help guide our visitors as we stand and link hands as you are comfortable or able. Still staying in the rows, but we'd like to connect as much as possible by holding hands. And we will sing Carry the Flame twice. Thank you to our visitors and to our friends for being a part of this important tradition at UCE. Even though you just got settled, we'd ask that you jostle a little bit as we get set up for our next song, which is Woyaya, number 1020, which will be up on the screen. According to the composer, Sol Amarifio, it means we are going.
We know
A big yet silent appreciation to both Gordon and Karen Mills who have accompanied us through our service, as well as the many hands who have helped to keep it going. I would like to ask Brandy to come up once more to help us to extinguish the flame. To serve, to grow, and to love. In the name of all that is holy, may the connections between us inspire and sustain us. May the flame of life within us and amongst us be a sacred reminder that we are all called to serve, to grow and to love as we continue this journey of transformation. We will begin our closing with an interlude by Michelle.
So would it have been a good idea to have a note or two? I wish to extend my deep gratitude to each and every one of you for being here today. To those that have flown near and far. To those that have loved me into this position, into this calling, I thank you. My colleagues, my friends, my former piano teacher, and then become almost family. I remember in seminary, I used Michelle's home as a place to go and just be with someone that was like family and was family. We became family through that. Karen, you brought me through so much. Karen was my internship supervisor when I was an intern in Kelowna. All of you, I should stop naming people because every one of you here, whether you belong to this congregation, whether I've seen you before, whether I'll see you again, you have helped me become a minister, and I am grateful to you, to this Canadian Unitarian Council, to this movement in Canada and the United States and across the world. I wanted to serve this denomination, and now I am serving this denomination and this congregation, and I am honored to do so. Thank you to the incredibly many hands that went into making this day possible, and they didn't let me know anything or what they were doing and wouldn't let me help. So I went and got my nails done instead. Do I do the benediction now? Yeah, okay. And now I leave you with these words of benediction, which the Unitarian Church of Edmonton has become very familiar with. Do not, oh, they're by L.R. Noss, but I've changed some of it. Do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. Things can break, and things can be mended, but not with time, as they say. It's with intention. So go and love intentionally, and love unconditionally, and most importantly, love extravagantly. For the broken world waits in darkness for the love and the light that is within you. So go in peace, gentle people. Go in peace. What's next, Oksana? We're going to sing Grace, number 1010, written by our colleague Wendy Luello-Perkins, the Reverend, and this is our Grace so that when we get in there, we don't have to act awkward and go, shouldn't we have grace? Now we're having grace.
Tell you a little about the closing song. My name is Gordon Ritchie. Karen Mills and I have the great pleasure of being the choral conductors of our choir, Chorealis. Upon hearing about the installation, my dear friend Mitch Walden said to me, I have to take part in this service somehow. He came to me with a tune which is one of Reverend Rosemary's favorites, and we sat down with my keyboard and we created a choral version of this tune specifically for the installation. And so we offer you this world premiere.